Hira, start the session.
Okay.
Ma'am, can I start?
Yes, Hira, start.
Good afternoon to one and all. Me, Hira Gopinath, student of 8th SEM, Civil Engineering Department, Dr. Chinmaya Institute of Technology. It's my pleasure to host a virtual webinar on awareness about startups and related ecosystems. The world is full of diamonds and gems, and we are having some of them here today to build this event. With this, I would like to give my heartiest welcome to all the students and faculties of Dr. TTIT and different institutions. Now, I request Mrs. Anita Devi Madam, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, to give a welcome speech.
Yeah, thank you, Hira. Good afternoon to one and all. Myself, Anita Dev, Assistant Professor from the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. TTIT KGF. It's my immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Ashok V. Patil, the Managing Director and CEO of OYD Solutions LLP Bangalore, for this virtual webinar on awareness about startups and related ecosystems. Amidst all these grim situations caused by the second wave of COVID-19 and the peak summer time, welcome to Mr. Ashok V. Patil. Welcome home back.
Thank you, Anita.
I would also like to welcome our Vice Principal and President of Institution Innovation Council, Dr. H. Ghanshyam Shenoy sir, and my colleagues and my dear students for this session on startups and its related guidelines. I hope you all will be maximum benefited from this webinar. Once again, welcome all. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I request our beloved Vice Principal and President of Institution Innovation Council, Dr. Shenoy sir, to address this gathering. We welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Hira. So good afternoon, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to, as a Vice President of Institutions Innovation Council, to give a initial welcome address. So at the outset, let me welcome on behalf of management, principal, and all of our staff members and students, Mr. Ashok P. Patil, who is alumni of this institution, GVET, to this program, sir. Thank you very much for attending in spite of your busy schedule.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. So at the outset, actually the Institution Innovation Council has started 3 years back, and we are proud that out of around more than 1 lakh institutions which has applied for Institutions Innovation Council, and the initial stages of around 1,000 plus institutions were given this Institutions Innovation Council, and GVET or Dr. TTIT was one of them. So it was a great moment for us. And last year we have scored 4 stars out of 5 in the innovation part. So it is very proud. We are very proud to announce this also, sir.
Well, that is great, sir.
Yeah. So everyone knows that in India we do a lot of research. There is no doubt about doing research. Only thing is we do research, we spend enough money on research, and we do a lot of research publications. In the part of publications, we are extremely good when compared to any other nation, either USA or China. So we will be on par with them. But when it comes to startup, and the research, whatever we have done, and to convert that research into a product and the product into a startup, we are very back. We are very behind. And patents, we need not talk about it because we are very, very minimal. So in this aspect, the government of India, under the Ministry of Education, they have started this Institutions Innovation Council to introduce an ecosystem in the institution wherein all the students, it is not that final year students come out with the project or come out with the innovative ideas. It is every student has the innovative idea in them, be it first year, second year, third year, whomsoever. They can come forward and put their innovative ideas, and we will be definitely helping them in all respects, including some small-time financial assistance also, so that they can start up this. And it is not only the innovation what they have in their mind, they have to convert it to a product, and hopefully some of them in due course they will do the startup on their own. So having said this, so this is the best I think the topic what has been selected, awareness about startup and the related ecosystem. So this is a very good topic which has been selected, and Mr. Ashok Patil will be talking more about this, so that taking all the guidelines from him and assistance from him, we will definitely start up this ecosystem, and so that in future we will be having good startups coming from our institutions through our students as well as our faculty members. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your valuable speech, sir. Now, I request Mrs. Manila Ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Dr. TTIT, who is here to brief about the session speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the chief guest, Mr. Ashok sir, who is presently working as founder and CEO of OYD Solutions Bangalore. Sir has a great expertise in data science and product development using various technologies. OYD is driven by a vision to build next generation data science and analytics company to drive insight and actionable intelligence. Sir is co-founder and CTO of Sama NextGen Private Limited and its Indian subsidiary to build smart speaker and voice technology based products. Prior to this, he founded OYD Solutions that serves various clients through consulting and product development support. He has worked across various corporate roles with HP, Vogum Consulting, and Evalvaserve across many positions in sales, marketing, product development, strategy development, GTM, and outsourcing advisory services. Ashok sir actively works and advises few new startups on building their growth strategy.
Hello, Manila.
Currently, he is advisor to few companies in Bangalore like Three Meadows Software, TestAct, Copestech, which is an engineering design and training company, Ara Networks, which is an embedded product and training company, and also Nirantara Infrastructures, a construction company. Thank you, sir, for readily agreeing our invitation. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to welcome the guest of this program, Mr. Ashok V. Patil, sir, who is Managing Partner and CEO, OID Solutions, LLP, Bangalore, to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Let me switch slide mode. Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share the startup ecosystem, what you call as a topic. One thing I like to share some of my experience because I've been working for last almost 15-16 years in the startup ecosystem and working with multiple companies. Okay, so I'm trying to summarize as much as possible of my experience and learnings that I've done with multiple startups. So I have worked in technology, I have worked in services, I have worked in consulting, I have worked in product development, manufacturing, hardware, etc. and all. Having learned a lot of new things, I have tried to keep the story in a way where I will share very high level the story how to set up a startup in India or what kind of support you will get in the industry or from the industry. Okay. And then we can go in detail one by one, and any questions that you might have, you can post me and I will be very happy to share my information, whatever I have, and whatever is possible, I'll support you on that one. Okay. To give you a broad level introduction about Indian startup ecosystem, every year there are something about close to 55,000 companies that get registered in India. Okay, out of that, only few survive. Majority of them try to just live active. Okay, and out of that, very less amount of companies are actually working with Department of the Indian Trade Procurement and Trade Councils. Then they also it's something like only 1% of the entire registered companies get funded in a positive way. Meaning that everybody should not understand that if we don't get funding, what does it happen? Okay, funding is just a metrics where somebody wants to grow in a high scale or a high speed environment, they get funding. And there are a lot of success stories where company has not got for funding, but they're cash positive. Okay, this term cash positive is very important because I will try to address that cash positiveness in a separate slide called Money Matters. Okay. Overall, 385 companies were able to raise about $63 billion of fund in first half of 2020. And overall, India has been a quite active market now, especially with the more number of startups coming into India than starting their operations out of key towns. Okay, and this has led to a sudden spike of more employment, new opportunities, which is quite different from our traditional old set of working environment in the factories and etc. and all. We do have a lot of new manufacturing areas, but earlier when you consider like say 15 or say even 7 or 8 years ago, before 2012, something like that, lot of government companies were ruling and lot of private sector companies were running the manufacturing setup. Apart from that, India has been driven primarily to services and environment. Okay, so having given this background, we also see that this whole company life cycle, it takes anywhere between 7 to 8 years. Okay, to either hit $1 million revenue or turn into a unicorn. Unicorn is a status where it says if a company is making more than 1 billion of value, then it is called unicorn. Okay, otherwise a lot of companies are into millions by value, but they might not be generating any revenue also in some cases. Especially these are all from the funded entities company valuation. Okay. Let me move to the next slide. Before doing that, we have to highlight India as a growing economy. One, number two, as a growing economy, it has wonderful opportunities in multiple areas, be it healthcare, be it financial services, be it IoT, be it manufacturing, be it logistics. Okay, based on all these parameters, India currently ranks third in the world, where lot of active programs, especially focused towards startups, are running. Okay, so that is the good piece about India, that you have a lot of support that is being extended now compared to what you call previous years. India was somewhere in 96th position. From there, it has moved to third or fourth position. Is really good achievement that way. The first being Silicon Valley in the US, and the second being Shenzhen. Shenzhen is called the east of, it's a Silicon Valley of the East. And third is India now, which is growing in very high growth rate markets. Okay. Now let's understand some history about why startups, why the startup term came up from, and why is it so popular now. Okay. India was a very closed economy since independence, and once it opened up in 1992, a lot of foreign companies or Indian companies started doing business with India. That is why Indian 1992 becomes one of the very key milestone in India economic what you call revamp. Okay, and then the moment it started, we hit this 2000 Y2K what you call bug, because of which IT services in India boomed, and a lot of companies in India grow in the IT sector in a big way. And later on, when we started moving towards IT services, we again hit the 2008 recession, which was primarily because of the financial services in the US. Okay, and Indian IT services companies were primarily servicing financial services market, like Lehman Brothers, JP Morgan Chase. All these are companies are financially banks, and Indian companies were servicing these kind of companies. And after this whole collapse of financial sector, what do you call it? Again, the new wave started in 2014, where Indian government started supporting, the Modi government basically started supporting Make in India, and tried to push predominantly to out of services into other areas, like say manufacturing, it can be logistic, it can be any other unicorn or any new innovative areas. From India, 2014 onwards, you will hear that Flipkart, which became a unicorn during that time, was an e-commerce company. So e-commerce was never known to Indian ecosystem till 2010, 2012. Okay. Then you have lot of e-commerce companies that are coming up in India, especially Myntra, you have Snapdeal, you have what you called Big Basket. All these companies have blossomed during this period, and they also got sufficient amount of funding. Okay. Since 2014, India also opened up incubation centers and active incubation program, and also supports from funding activity into the startup ecosystem. Okay, so we have PLI schemes for profit link incentive schemes for embedded electronics manufacturing. This one, because this is focused, or what do you call, this is to encourage how do we what do you call, compete China, and also de-risk from China. Okay, the entire Indian electronics industry, which is about $55 billion business, is completely dependent on China, because they are one of the world's best electronics manufacturer. Okay, even my company, which is based out of Singapore, also has a factory in Shenzhen. We don't have any factories in India, which is unfortunate, because Indian electronic system or electronic manufacturing was not that mature in India till last year. Okay, and when it was getting mature, we got hit with COVID. That is the unfortunate situation. But primarily, electronics is very, very mature in China, because you can get anything done or from China there. That is why what you call, to de-risk and dependency of China, we started this PLI schemes to promote Indian companies to take real product development in electronics, and also focus on other new areas where we can do hardware, software combination of the products by and large. Okay. And in a nutshell, to build world-class startups, most of the times we have to be proactively solving certain challenges. Okay, and this means that we have to emphasize on the capability than capacity. Okay. If you look at the current crisis of COVID, we are importing a lot of what you call incubators, lot of oxygen condensers or compressors or generators from different countries. We don't have in-house capabilities. Okay, so this is a new area where a lot of companies are trying to build these products from India, but still we lack the technology or the fundamentals of oxygen. Okay, everybody has studied, like sir said, Shunai sir told, we are very good in paper publishing, but we have never converted a product, I mean the concepts into product. This is a classical example. Everybody has studied how we can break a water into hydrogen and oxygen, but we never created this into a product for oxygen generator till date. We use it for industrial purpose, but we have never used for our own real life situation till date. Okay. So let's move to the next topic, or the fundamental, how does startup get created? What is an essential for a startup? Okay. Most of the times we should focus for a startup to get originated or get birth or take a birth. There are three things. One is you have to look for a problem, or you need to have a very great idea. Okay. When it's a great idea, it can be in the form of innovation solution, or it can be a solution for an existing problem, but nobody has thought so far. Okay. So this can be an idea. Okay. So typically most of the times what happens is that a lot of problems around our own existing day-to-day life. Okay. People right now, a lot of people move to digital because we were unable to move out of our homes because of COVID. Okay, digital solution became very popular there. So the problem exists around us, but we need to create some new idea which can solve those problems. Okay, and first is that most importantly to create a startup is that you should be very passionate enough to understand the problem, or you should deeply get involved to sort out this problem. Only then you can think about a startup, or can you make a living out of this one. Okay, startup, everybody looks very glamorous, okay, but it is not so glamorous. Having worked with more than 10 startups, trust me, it is more painful journey, but it is a fulfilling journey. It's not like, say, everyone will become a millionaire in this, but on the way you might create some assets for yourself, and also some new generate employment to a lot of other people, okay, who will grow along this journey. And that is the a lot of people have different purposes. Okay, some people like to create one of the best technology in this one, so they go ahead and create technology startups. Some people like to just create a good services company, and in the future they want to go and offer a lot of social services. Okay, social entrepreneurship is also one of the concepts that many people have not heard of. Social entrepreneurship focuses on fundamental life skills and life lessons. That is where they focus on. Okay. Having said that, if you look at the current value chain, if you want to do a startup, you need to have an idea, and then you need to start working towards that one. Okay. And first you have to do validation of your idea. Then by studying the market, thorough market research is very, very important in studying this one. Then you need to work to create a real meaningful, tangible solution for that particular, based on that idea. Okay. And then you do analysis saying that, okay, does it really address the market or not? You need to really do that analysis. Okay. And you will, during this analysis, you will really understand whether my product is required or is not required, or should my idea needs to be a service, or should it be a product. Okay, 95% of the companies fail because they create a product or a service which is not required for the market. Okay, it's something like, I have a beautiful idea and I'm very, very obsessed with my idea, so I go and create a startup, but it will fail because there is no need for that particular product in the market. Okay. So this analysis is very much essential there. And last thing is that the goal, you should not deviate from your goal because the startup trend is not like 1 year, 2 year, you make it and you go and sell it to someone. No, that is not the goal. You need to have a long-term vision of about 20 years or 30 years so that you can work and you should enjoy the work that you're doing. Otherwise, startup will fail in the second year itself. Okay, because if it is just for a small, what you call enthusiasm, anxiety kind of stuff for first 2 years, you should not get into startup. The idea will collapse in the second year itself if you don't enjoy the idea. That's why the analysis is very important, because you will actually validate whether your idea can last 20 years, 30 years. Okay, you can, for an example, you can understand this Uber came up with the concept of what you call booking your cabs. Okay, they started with an cab aggregator. They own nothing. Okay, just a platform. Okay, but on a long term, if you understand, they started generating from information of about cab availability towards employment to a lot of people who want to drive the cabs. Okay, and they created that whole ecosystem, banking system to fund these cabs drivers to buy their vehicles. They also started generating a lot of other economy into the system. So Uber eventually moved from in 10 to 12, 15 years, it started bringing the behavioral shift, meaning that from self-driving vehicle people now rent a cab to commute. Okay, so this is called behavioral change. Okay, when they started this idea, it was nothing. Okay, just to be a information aggregator. But over a period of time, they figured out that they can bring in behavioral transformation about end consumers. Okay, that is where the whole journey shifted. Okay, as they were working, they figured out that just giving the platform will not help, but we have to do behavioral changes also there. Okay, that is the reason. Okay, it's very important that when we do a startup idea, you should enjoy the along this path. Second thing, you should make sure that this idea of yours is going to solve a particular problem, and it will solve, and everybody will use it for long term. Otherwise, your product doesn't have any validity there. Okay. So now let me move to the next slide. Like say how one generates multiple ideas about startups. Okay. The easiest way is to identify a serious problem that exists next to you, and you spend more time understanding that one. That is one way of generating an idea. The second one is that there is someone in the market who's already offering some products or solution, and you find a gap between what is needed by the end user, and then you try to fill that gap. Okay, so it's something like current offerings, and you will try to find a gap between the future expectations, and then you try to play in that one. Okay, to give an example about this concept, petrol cars and diesel cars are very popular, or petrol and diesel vehicles are very popular. Okay, Tesla came into picture. They told that electricity was available since, like say, start of 19th century, but nobody has ever used the electricity to run automobiles. Okay, they converted this idea 10 years ago. It took 10 years to make Tesla to really make it into real production concept. Okay, they got into that business and they converted Tesla into an electric cars. Now, under the name of electric cars and automobiles, we have so many companies generating trucks. They're generating pods, human pods, and also a lot of transportation logistic vehicles, then internal commutation vehicles within the tech parks or society, etc. These are all electric driven. Okay, who's generating the bigger business out of this is the battery manufacturing companies. Okay, and the unfortunate, or many people don't know that Tesla is not the biggest electric automobile company. There is a Chinese company which is called BYD. Okay, they do only batteries. They are 10 times value than Tesla. Okay, so this is the irony of people that some people know only what is there in the market, but the real value is being generated elsewhere. Okay, because fundamental electricity is available, but somebody has stored their electricity to run everything. That is where the whole what you call company is making money. BYD. It's a Chinese company, but they're pretty bigger than Tesla that way. Okay, and the third way of doing it is it has to be completely innovative or disruptive idea. Okay, one such is Instagram or Pinterest or Tinder, which brought in a new concept of say dating for Tinder, then Instagram for sharing the photos, etc. Okay, photo sharing was there, but you disrupted the market via internet. That is why it is called disruptive. Okay. So having said these three modes of idea generation, one is finding a problem, or the second one is gap, a third one is an innovative disruptive idea. Okay, these are the three primary ways by how you can create an idea. Okay, once you get an idea, the first thing anyone should do is that create a logo or give an akar for your idea. Okay, in the form of logo or in the name of in the form of a name, or you can create some web domain there. Okay, so that you can protect your idea there. Okay, are you following what I'm trying to say? Any questions so far? Any students can definitely ask any questions, no problem. I'll be happy to explain any doubts or questions you might have. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. Okay, see, how do we convert an idea into a real product or a service or a solution? Is that first you should always convert your idea into a prototype. Prototype means you have to create a document which will say that this is my idea and these are the things what it can do and this is the problem it is going to answer. Okay, this is a prototype. Okay, prototype means it's not a working product, it is just an idea drafted very detailedly into a document. Okay, and it will also have design documents in some cases, okay, where you will explain like, okay, my product looks like this, or it can do this, it has features like this kind of stuff. Okay, once you have this, we call the next one as the minimum viable product, MVP. Okay, MVP is the most important piece because it is the actual product that will be used by your trial audience. What is this trial audience? Okay, a lot of people might ask this. Trial audience is like, say, very few set of people who will be the consumers of your product. Okay, before you hit the mass production for in the manufacturing segment. Okay, and the real product is the one which comes after the trial people have certified saying, oh, I need this product, I need this solution, and they give feedbacks back to the developers and the creators saying that I want this to be looking like this, it will appeal these people, or you have to say that, okay, I need a notification in the software so that I can get reminders continuously. So these are the feedbacks that you collect from the trial users, and from that trial users you create the final product which goes into the production, real production. Okay, and once it is into production, it is live, so people will start using it, pay for the service, they will generate the revenue for this one. Okay, always remember, if there is no money that you're paying for a product, then think it this way, that you are the product, meaning that your data becomes the product for them. Okay, so that is where the behavioral patterns of like Facebook, Uber, or what you call the Amazon of the world actually try to capture. Okay, for them, we are the products. They're only providing the platforms. Okay, so a lot of people might get confused between a product and a platform. Understand, a platform, the definition goes that you're giving a facility or enablers to launch a service using a particular tools. Okay, whereas a product is a physical or a, what you call it, a tangible output that anyone can use or consume. Okay, having done this whole exercise from prototype to product, what is the key part is that you might have to definitely focus on solution architecture. Detailing of each and every product specification is very important here. Okay, And not only that one, you have to do walk the talk concept, meaning that your solution should talk and address the pain points of clients, meaning that because since your whole idea of creating a product was to address a particular problem, okay, so it needs to actually address or talk about that pain points. Have I solved that problem or have I not solved that problem? Okay, so these are the key important pieces that a minimal viable product should have. Any questions so far here? Okay, let me move to the next slide. Okay, now I have idea. I have more details about this one. How do I build my startup teams? Okay, that is the next question that everyone will think about. Most of the people will like to think that I'm a batch of 4 people will come together and start a startup. That is not the way startup works. Everybody have to spend a good amount of time, okay, to create. First you have to have your first hire always will be a co-founder, okay, and the co-founder will come with 4 very important skill set. One is trust, because if you don't trust him, you will never be able to make him a co-founder. The second one is that it's a skill set, okay. The person who comes on the table should always bring in an added advantage skill set. Okay, if 2 engineers start from an electronics department, they might be good, okay, in the technical way, but what is the benefit of having 2 electrical or electronics engineers or a computer engineers when I don't know how to handle finance? Okay, so that's why the skill set becomes very important here. Okay, then third one is personality. Okay, personality is very important because all the co-founders or the startup team's personality has to match, otherwise it will fall apart. Okay, and the last one is honesty. All the team members of a startup has to be honest. If you're not honest with each and everyone, the company will again collapse. That's why when you bring in the first employee, he is the co-founder of the company. Okay, after that you will build up a team from multiple sources. It can be from friends or classmates or batchmates, because you know them for last 20 years or 10 years or 15 years, you bring them on board. But you bringing them on board is fine, but if you can't pay them as a salary, people will not join. They will not join for just fun in this one. But co-founder will join because he likes the journey, he likes your idea, he will trust you very much, and he will understand that you're honest, and he also can be honest with you. That is the reason co-founder skill sets or the requirement or consideration for co-founder is different from a team members. Okay, and also when you do the team selection, okay, we always call them human capital. Human capital is meaning that the startup doesn't have anything apart from an idea. Okay, how do you give a value to the company? Okay, it's always on a human capital, meaning that if I had 5 freshers versus 5 experienced people, the value of human capital in terms of experience, in terms of cost, in terms of revenue that I can generate is different equally. Okay, that is the reason we call this as human capital. And most of the startup people go to their friends or classmates as their first set of hires, because they think that I can trust them. Second, I know either they will fit into any one of these pieces, meaning that either he will be a very good crisis solver, or he's a complete brainiac, meaning that he's a nerd who can think innovatively or differently, or he's a hard worker so that he can deliver things on time, or somebody is excellent in financial so he can manage my finance. These are the primary factors why somebody goes to the friends or classmates or family members to do the first level of hiring. The second level of hiring comes from your reference, from your friends, or from college interns, or it can be from experienced professional from the market. This is where the second level of hiring comes into play. And when we look at the second level of hiring, we always focus on 3 Ds. We call it as the fundamental pillars of a startup. The person has to be very determined. Second, he has to be very disciplined. And third one, he has to be dedicated to his work and task. Otherwise, he's like any other employee, and he will not stick to the work profile, or he will just jump out. Okay, in a startup you can't afford attrition. That's the reason you need to have the people whom you will like to have. The first 10 people will be as close as a co-founder or a core team members. Okay, that is the reason when you look at startup, building a startup, you have an idea. If you don't have a team, you can't deliver. You have an idea, you can't get funding, and if you don't know how to manage finance, you will collapse. Okay, if you have an idea, if you don't have a honest partners or a honest team, you will still collapse. Meaning that 99% of the companies or startups fail because of the wrong team, wrong financial management, or wrong hires. Or meaning wrong hires means wrong people they hire. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, nobody has any questions. Looks like everybody's able to understand a basic part of this so far. Now, let me take you to the most interesting part. Most of the people are interested to understand where do the funding comes from. Okay. Before that, okay, how do you convert your idea into real legal entity? So one should also focus on legal aspects of your company, because tomorrow if it starts generating money, then how are you going to manage that money? How do you pay the taxes? Okay, how do you book your revenue? How do you book your costs? All these fundamental needs to be known. Okay, and most of the times what happens, if an engineer starts a company, he will go directly to an auditor and ask him, can you manage my financials? That is okay, but you should also be educated in finance, because what if the auditor cheats you? Okay, or what if the legal process that we are going to do is not right as per the government? You will end up with the big legal fees or litigation, which will actually kill the company. Okay, that's why legal aspects of a company is also very important. That's why I try to give a small overview of legalities of the company during the startup stage. Okay, one can create or register a company in multiple ways. It can be a private limited company, it can be a public limited partnership company, one-person company, or sole proprietorship. Okay, the definition varies, and the government norms and the filing aspects also varies as per the company form. If you're a sole proprietorship, you don't need a company registration also. Your tax that you file to the government is what defines how much money, or how much economy you're generating, or your product is successful or not. Most probably sole proprietorship starts in the manufacturing side, or it will start in the consulting side of the business. Okay, but the drawback of sole proprietorship is that you can never receive money from foreign countries. That's why people don't go with sole proprietorship kind of a companies. The second one is the one-person company, which is most of the consultants or business professionals use it, like chartered accountants or lawyers and all. They do one-person company. And again, they're also something similar to sole proprietorship, but they have to register with the government for their taxation, etc. Okay. The third one is the partnership company, which is like, say, it can come in multiple pieces. When 2 or 3 people come together to form a company, the easiest way to create a company is in partnership, which we call it as limited liability partnership. Meaning that all 3, if there are 3 part founders, we call them as partners. They put in 3 equal share of money into the company, and they will also share the limited liability. Meaning that if tomorrow any worst case happens, everybody is secured by limited liability, meaning that he does, like say for example, 3 people put 30 lakhs together, 10 lakhs each, and they go and start building a company. During the course, they take a loan of 1 crore, and after taking 1 crore, the company collapses. The liability is shared across all 3 people. That is why limited liability secures the partners there. Okay. And then we have this private limited company and public limited company. When your revenue is little larger in size, then people go for converting a company into private, or they register it as a private company. Or some people, right from startups, especially for if they want to get funded, everything and all, they go with private limited company. Okay, because private limited company has a filing norms to the government, so you can't fake anything there. So you have to file every quarterly, every monthly. So there is a lot of things which is called legalities. This is very important subject, which is an add-on or enabler for your startup idea, because you will understand how much knowledge we need to have from filing the government. Because if you don't file GST for 3 months continuously, okay, you will subject it to a lot of what you call notices and fines. Okay, that will actually put your company 2 steps behind. That's why it's very important to understand the legal aspects of a company formation. And also I've just put a small steps how it gets registered also. Like the first is that you have to get, if anyone wants to do a startup, they have to get the digital signature, which is called DSC. And then they have to get a director identification number. Then you have to reserve your name of the company with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, so that nobody can duplicate your ID or anything. Okay. This brings to a point. You remember earlier I had told that once you have a very good idea, either you name an idea or you create a name of a company there. Then you have to have a drafting of MOA and article of association. All these things are not part of government. In this, you will also list out your shareholders or your partners or co-founders as well. And then you have a lot of other forms. Certificate of incorporation comes later on. Okay. So now, giving a small idea about legalities, which is very, very important aspects. Once you have this, only then you can go to a funding. Why it is very important, these legalities, is because nobody will fund the individuals just by the idea. You need to have a proper legal structure in place to value a company and then put a money in the company. Okay. Now I will explain the most important part of the money matters. Okay. Most of the young generations, are very, this is the bad part of Indian, ecosystem, is that not many people are educated in finance. They don't know the fundamentals of savings, the fundamentals of revenue, the fundamentals of sales. Because if anybody asks what is the difference between sales, revenue and income, nobody will be able to explain this or answer this question rightly. Okay, that is where I say I'm very sad about this, because in the schools or in the colleges, nobody takes an effort to teach about the financial importance or financial knowledge. Like say, how do we open a bank account? How do we put a savings? How do we book a savings? Okay, many people don't know that credit is different in banking terms, and credit is different from personal terms. So we all use credit card to buy a lot of things. Bank uses credit, means they're doing positive, meaning that is the revenue for them. So these fundamentals, a lot of people miss learning during their school days or engineering days or college days. So I would request all the students to spend some time to get financially literate and educated as well, so that you understand when somebody throws a financial term or jargon, you're able to understand what exactly it is. Okay. So some people call it as cost, some people call it as expense, but as a startup entrepreneurs or startup people, you should be aware what exactly they're talking about. Okay, always cost is related to running costs, means that every month that you expendable, that is called cost. The capital expenditure is different. So there are a lot of things where you buy, like say PCs, you buy tables, chairs, furnitures for your startup. These are all capital expenditure, because you're spending money, you're getting a physical product from someone, and you're using it for over a period of next 5, 10 to 10 years. Okay, that's why it is called capital expenditure. This is also an expense. The cost is also an expense, but there is 2 different pieces. This kind of clarity is very much important when you're doing startups, because based on this knowledge, your legal filings, the reporting back to the government, everything and all will come into handy. because there are a lot of tax exemptions that will come into play, a lot of service refund amount that will come into play. But if you don't know how to file them properly, you will lose a lot of things. That's why we try to help a lot of startups in the initial phases, how they should manage the finances in a better way, so that they can manage the salaries of the first few initial people. They can also spend money on the buying of equipments or to whatever is needed for startups. They can spend without any hesitation. Okay, so the money matters is the one of the key aspects where if it is managed properly, it can take you to success. If it is managed very badly, it can collapse even in the early stages itself. Some companies, even after raising very big money, they have collapsed. I know companies who have raised, like say 100 million, funding to start some new product. After 3 years, they have closed their shops after taking 100 million. Think about investors who have lost so much money there. That's why startup is not something like a glamorous world, but it's the painful world. But the journey is going to be a sweet and bitter relation kind of stuff there. Okay. Usually, how do lot of startups raise capital or meet this financial requirement is, once you have an idea, most of the people, the founders, they put it from their savings. It's basically a self-run, or they try to keep the cost very, very, very minimal. Okay. If you look at it from an investment point of view, okay, what do you need to run a startup? Okay. If you have a very good idea, a laptop, a mobile phone is good enough to create a mobile app and start and go live. Okay, this is the easiest one. But there are companies, like especially in manufacturing or mechanical or electrical and electronics, where you can't do this way. For this, you'll go and buy some additional hardware equipments also, like say Arduino boards, Raspberry Pi, or you'll buy some mobile handsets, break them. Okay, these are all real investment that you do into this one. But if you say, I'll buy a mobile from somebody else's money and destroy it for your development, nobody will give you money. Okay, so first we should understand how to save money and use that money to invest or fund your own startup. Okay, that is why we call this as pre-seed or seed capital kind of a concept, where people invest from their own savings to the tune of 25 lakhs to 1 crore. Okay, this is the bucket which clearly classifies when you should take this money or spend this money. If you see the chart, you'll see during idea stage, you will just use a very, very small amount, less than 25 lakh or 5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh kind of money. When you do validation of your idea, what will happen is that you need to go and test in the market, meaning that you have to create some prototypes or you have to do some trial versions of the products. So you need to really produce your product and give it to few people to try it out. That is the reason, this is where the validation comes into play, and you need a bit higher money. And the source of funds also changes from very few people are rich, I know, who can afford self-funding kind of concept in validation stage. So in such stage, they go to banks or they go to family friends or they go to government grants. Okay, so government has wonderful schemes where you can register yourself for certain trial work based on prototype, and they will agree to fund, like say initial 10 or 15 units, which you can try out. And if it works, the government grants you certain money for mass scale or mass production or anything. Okay, so this is the pre-seed stage. The next stage that will come is that when you really invest more time in building a real product, by using the feedback of the trial users, that is where you require seed capital, or we call it as Series A capital. Okay, so this range anywhere between 3 crores to 15 crores kind of a funding, and people get it via a lot of multiple sources. It can be from angel investors. Angel investors are nothing but NRIs who has a big bank balance and they're looking to invest in some bright ideas. Okay. There are a lot of companies who are also called HNIs, which is called high net worth individuals, who have their bank balance upwards of few crores. So they invest in these ideas. Okay. So they invest in building and they take equity, or they will try to give you on a loan, or they will try to give it like a Marwadis, how they give you money. They give you on debt funding. Okay, meaning that you take a short-term loan like 3 months, 6 months, and then you pay back the money. Okay, so startup, when you create a startup, you should be very, very confident that your product that you're generating is addressing a problem, and that problem is getting resolved, by which people will also start paying you money. Otherwise, your startup is no fun. Okay, so the concept of startup, money matters, is that we call this as cash flow cycle. Okay, you need money to create a product, and the product should be able to address a problem, and the problem that you're addressing will generate revenue, and revenue should be able to allow you to pay the cash or expense. Okay, so this is called cash flow cycle. I'm not depicted here, but I can share it or send it separately also, which how a cash flow cycle will look like. Okay, and with once you pay your expenses, etc., and all, you will also be able to pay your loans or debts if you have taken initially. Okay, in case of self-fund people pay themselves salaries and they will recover back their investment. Okay, and the last part of the whole story is that it is a growth stage and a maturity stage where people go for raising big capital towards upwards of more than 25 crores, 50 crores kind of a money. Okay, and this is, they use this via venture capitalists or private equity guys who will actually give big money, and they will say, okay, I will support you in this country to grow, or I will support you with my own client list. So that is where the growth really happens for the companies. Any questions here so far? Okay, let me move to the next one. So now I am trying to summarize all the above pieces into one single life cycle. If you look at how a startup, first is that you have to think about a problem and you have to see how the future will look like with your solution or your idea. Okay, that is what is very much important. Then during this journey or thought process, or what you call it, introspection, you will try to understand that what is missing in this world or what is the real problem. Then you start writing down and start doing a lot of ideas around them, how to address it, how to solve it. Then you move to a prototype version, and then you show this prototype to 100 people. Okay, now you do a lot of iterations, or you will modify or change the ideas to multiple times. This is when you will see, okay, you can't do everything. Then you go and find a co-founder. Once you have a co-founder, you go and register a company, and you'll go. Now the tricky part comes in. How do you fund for that one? Either you go look out for funds within these families, self savings, or you ask for some banks to fund certain things. Once you get the funding, you have to launch your product or solution, and then you have to go and start deploying in the market. So this summarizes the whole startup journey, whatever I spoke about, in a simpler way, as simple as possible. Okay, if you can understand this and follow this path, this is a sequential, it's not parallel, meaning that I can't do funding and product development together. Okay, it's something like saying you can't go and tell an investor that, hey, buy me a Nike shoe so that I can run. They will never do that way. You should have it, you should be running already, seeing your running behavior or running capability, somebody will fund a shoe for you. Whether it will be Nike or something, we don't know that part. So you should be very careful how you pitch an idea, how you protect your idea, and how you make sure that your close co-founder or the initial team is chosen. Okay. So let me move to the next part. Okay. So let me now introduce you to a new mammoth called deep technologies. Okay, in what areas or what fields are more number of startups being created in India at this point of time? Okay, most of the startups that are registered or getting registered in India are focusing on AI, artificial intelligence, IoT, and big data, and they're focusing on AR, VR, and blockchain to some extent. But primarily, majority of the startups are focusing towards AI or IoT side. Okay, my company works in AI, one company works in AI, the other company works in IoT. Okay, but consumer IoT is what the area works on. So the idea of giving you the slide is that there are a huge number of potential in this AI area and IoT area. IoT is called Internet of Things, and anything that is connected to internet becomes a thing that is connected to internet. So that's why they call it as IoT there. Okay. So a lot of people are trying to focus on IoT because it is hardware and manufacturing driven, and AI is more towards software and algorithms driven. Okay. And again, AI can be applied in multiple verticals like healthcare, enterprise technologies, financial world, educational world. Byju is one classical AI in educational area. Okay. And fintech is like, say, a lot of companies like the Boomi. There is a lot of companies who are focusing on financial, micro-financial solution and all. Okay, so like ChargePay is another company which is into AI for financial services. So there are a lot of companies who have understood artificial intelligence, their applications, and they have gone ahead and done integration with multiple third-party people so that they can generate into a meaningful business out of it. Okay, Zoho is another company which is into AI. Okay, everybody don't agree with that, but it's using enterprise technologies there. Okay, they're working on consumer behavioral aspects on digital platform. So these 5 broader areas: AI, IoT, big data, blockchain, and AR/VR. These are the very hot topics against which a lot of startup companies are registering against themselves. Like, say, they can be a manufacturing company producing PCBs for IoT. There are companies who are registering themselves as a finished product for gateways in IoT, or some companies are developing video cameras where AI can be used for facial recognition. So there is a new area of development where hardware and software is getting mixed in this particular area. That's why India has become a very hot area, like the third most attractive location for startups, because a lot of people have wide variety of experience in software development and hardware integration area. Okay. So now, having said this, what type of support ecosystem do we have? Okay. So let me explain you. India has primarily 3 types of supporting system. One is called incubators, the second one is called accelerators, and third one is called scalerators. Okay, all these things, all these 3 kind of programs are structured in metros primarily in last 5 years. Since 2019 onwards, this has been also spread across multiple tier 3, tier 4 towns, but primarily tier 2 and tier 3 is the highest one. Okay. So if you look at the whole India, Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai are the hottest place for startups to be incubated, registered, because a lot of investors are focused around these geographies. Okay. Now, what everyone might ask, what is incubator? What is accelerator? How are they different? Okay. Incubators, if you're very bright, you're very smart and very good in your fundamentals of knowledge, incubator can be a nice place to go because you don't have a problem statement, you don't have a nice idea. So what do I do? How do I create a startup? To create a startup, incubator is nice. What do? Is that they put you through a course of 6 to 24-month program where they will try to assist you in identifying a problem, or they will give a problem for which you can find a solution. Okay, so this is a phase of identifying a problem or finding a problem statement. The next one is called the accelerator program, where you will have 3 to 6 months period where companies or institutions will fund you to create a prototype or to find a right product that can be launched. Okay, so especially accelerator concept came in from US, where they have something called Y Combinator or X Combinator kind of programs. In India also, now it is started where they call it as YC Combinator or some names are given, where a lot of accelerator programs are run from government, from academia side, and from corporate side also. Okay, so most of the corporate people, especially business people, will focus on accelerators. They don't focus on incubators, because incubator they don't have much return on investment for them. So very few people invest there. Like say Ashoka University is one in the Delhi which is invest in this area, and Azim Premji University is another one which focuses on identifying social entrepreneurship as a area there. Okay. And the third one is the Scalerator, where people like business people just put money to increase the reach of a particular product or particular solution there. Okay, so this is the fundamental differentiation between incubator, accelerator, and Scalerator. Okay, and if you look at it, all these three areas, the programs are available in almost top 10 cities across India. So Bangalore being the highest, and Goa also has an incubator or accelerator area where a lot of companies are also getting registered now in those geographies there. Okay. So now I will move to the next slide, where what type of programs or what is the benefit of multiple programs or ecosystem or support that we can get for running a startup. Okay. I mean, everybody knows that we are the third largest country now for startups. We are also good now backed by a lot of programs that can support startups. Okay. Having said that, what we know from the NASSCOM data is that there are 520 plus active tech incubators and accelerator programs in India. Okay. And lot of engineering students or BCom students or BSc, MCA kind of educational people should look at is that if they were inclined towards startups, how do they go and seek support from these incubators or accelerators? They should understand, they should study as much as possible and get enrolled in this so that you can get the right amount of support. Okay, you might have wonderful idea, but you need also some support to scale it up. Okay. And most of the programs have just started 5 years ago, and 5 years means like last 2 years have been the most highest support that they got it from government and also from private sector. Okay. Now these programs are initiated or run by multiple people, like say public, private, academic, corporate, etc. Let me give an example or give a clarity. What is the benefit having a public? Who is the public? Publics are all government-driven programs, okay? And these public-driven programs, government-driven programs, focuses on lot of high-tech, experience. Especially these are all focused or run by CDAC, DRDO, or Government of India for technical education, and these areas are focusing, trying to solve certain particular problem in the technical areas only so far. They're not focused on social. Like say if you ask them, how should my healthcare system or healthcare should look like, they're not focusing there. They're focusing on DRDO. Can I develop next advanced artificial intelligence video system? Yes, government is investing in that area. Okay, my company works with government and defense area for some automated speech recognition technology there. So their funding is in this directions only. They don't fund social entrepreneurship areas so far. Okay, in the future it will change, but they don't do that one. The second type of people are private. Okay, who are primarily the investor community, who are like say who have made enough money in their corporate life, and they're sitting and trying to invest in small startups, or they want to incubate, or they create a group like say IA, Indian Angel Networks. Okay, like that there are many setups where they go and fund these startups there. Okay, that is a nice area to go and pitch your idea, your solution or your prototype concept and get money for your product development. Okay. Third one is corporates, like say you have companies itself do accelerator programs, like say Maruti has the accelerator program where every year they pick up 6 companies, most innovative companies out of 100 applications, and they give money to create a real product out of it. Okay, even Mahindra does it, Tata does it, Reliance does it. So they have multiple names. These corporate programs are also very good to go and explore for capital requirement. Now the last one is the academia, which less people get there because what you call academia is primarily focused on very good technical and fundamental knowledge to doing research. Okay, research programs. If you want to create new ideas, this is the place you have to go, because you will get all the infrastructure, all the knowledge, all the support, and all the support of the professors and the academic fraternity to create a new idea and nurture them. If you want to create a seed of startup, academia is the right place to go there. Okay, and if you want to get funding, you have to always go for corporate or private. And if you want to do really good things for social or something, you should go to government. But right now, government is currently focused on defense and DR technical areas. But soon they will also focus on social entrepreneurship areas as well. If somebody wants to do social service or anything, they can go to the public programs and incubate your idea and then run it. Okay. So there is a company called Gnani and the Gnani.ai. Okay, so they went with government funding. They created the voice conversion, meaning that India is a language of huge amount of languages. They started converting each language into text, and from text they can do a lot of services can be launched. It's a new area altogether. That is where a lot of government companies are also investing, like CDAC, etc. and all are doing that. Okay. The next slides are for more of information. I will share these slides where I have highlighted some programs run from colleges, academia, what is the program focusing on, what are the areas that they focus on, so that it will give you an insight and idea about you can learn or you can study these areas and you can choose to enroll yourself in these things. And trust me, enrolling in these kind of programs is not easy. You have to prove your worth that you can really do this. Okay, and the best way to prove all this to this academia or corporate is that all engineers that are currently listening to this particular webinar, you should explore your own way of studies and to create a product or mobile app development or website development or something. These are the very low hanging ideas or concept you should try and prove your capability whether you can do for a startup kind of a journey or not. If you can't spare your spare time or spend time in creating something new or addressing a problem, don't get into startup, because you lose a lot of money and a lot of career life also there. Okay. Having said this, I'd like to conclude more of my presentation, or this is what I thought of presenting to you guys. I have other slides which are there for information's sake. I will circulate this, the slides. Everybody can have a look at it and also email me if you have any question or any support that you require from my side. Any questions on the slides that I have shared so far?
Yeah, good evening, Ashok.
Yes, sir.
It was a very wonderful talk. It is not a just a webinar. It was a lot of information was given, and I think I have a small question here.
Yes,
so
sir.
Even we are planning. We have an incubator as such.
Yes, sir.
College, and which is funded by our president, and. Because now it is COVID. Previous 2 years back, he had also given each department 2 lakhs for research program, and also he has kept even around 20 lakh rupees for incubation, so that any students who can come forward and do some good product or which can be. Even he had earlier he had openly given a challenge of doing a electric motorcycle. So which our student have successfully done also. Electrical student has done it. Electrical department, they have done it. It was a good piece of job which is done. And now, how a ecosystem should be there, because we are also learners in this area. What is that from the college side? How we can develop? How we can do the ecosystem so that people can come forward and work with their idea what they have.
Sir, there are two areas to approach this, how to grow. See, I understand. So you already have some idea which is already done in a prototype way. Now, how do we explore it into open market or grow that idea, right? What the best to tap these two is the two ways to do it is one is via alumni network. You have to invite a lot of alumni people to come and leverage this kind of products, because see these things, how does it reach alumni network is that we have to do a lot of publications, especially these kind of work, okay, in the form of video or in the terms of a document, which can be circulated to certain alumni, especially people who are working in what do you call it, this specific industry, like say the electric industry. If any of our alumni people are working in Amara Raja Batteries or Exide or some companies, okay, so there we should go with this one and tap these alumni to see if they can get their company interested in this kind of idea to fund into the next level of prototyping. Okay. The second way of doing it is we have to definitely do some social invitation to certain investors and try to show them that, boss, we have done this. Can you support us in scaling this into real manufacturing? Okay. There are a lot of companies who will explore this as a new area of investment where they will fund, like say 100 units or 200 units production, or they will themselves they'll produce and give it to you. Now somebody has to go and sell it. Okay, this is the tricky part. Okay, so the engineers who are working on this have to extend their internship to like say another, like say 3 to 6 months and try to really to exhaust the sales channel. This is where they will also learn non-engineering stuff, like say how do we price the product, how much should we sell it at, how much are we going to get the money, can we cover the cost of production, all these things and all will be there. Okay, so industrial network is very much important here, plus alumni network, so that we can incubate into, you move from an incubation to an accelerator program.
Accelerator, yes.
Okay, so a lot of companies are there. We should go and make presentation to them and see, okay, we have done a lot of prototyping, design documents exist with us. Are you interested to move it into production level diagrams? Okay, and there are a lot of people who can invest like say 8 to 10 lakhs very easily for creating these physical products, engineering samples and all. So there are a lot of companies who will invest in this kind of investment of producing these products. And this area, this way you can move from an incubator to an accelerator area there.
Thank you very much.
Sure, sir.
Anybody, any doubts? Dr. Manjunath? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it was really happy to present. So I will share this presentation after this call, sir. You can circulate it, and it has also my number and email ID. Anyone can write a question to me. I'll be happy to answer them and support them.
Definitely. We require your support and guidance in this, because you have a lot of experience in this area. So any doubts in future also, we may definitely disturb you and ask you about these things, how to go about. Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure, sir. I will be very happy to get involved with my own college, because I am also pastor. I've been KGF for 24 years there. So this is something I was exploring, but I think Manjunath reached out to me and we had some conversation on these areas. Let me explore. I'll come back with some proposal as well, probably how we can move on a couple of areas there, especially in the electronics and computer science and manufacturing is something I can explore. I can think of some ideas there. I'll come back.
Even you can start up a small incubator here also, so that our students will get some guidance and they can grow.
Yeah. The idea was like, say, can we find some interns who can work or contribute or dedicatedly for some time? We will explore that option. So let me come back to you with a much more detailed problem statement, and if we can structure it into an incubation area, we'll look into that one then. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much,
Yeah,
sir. It's a really happy to present and make a presentation. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Anita Devi, anything?
Hira?
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable guidance.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
Ashok, can you, Ashok,
Yeah, I'm there. Tell me, Anita.
Ashok, one question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're basically from a mechanical engineering field,
Yeah.
but you are having a company in China on electronics. So how shift possible, and is it okay? Like, if we are working field and we are interested in doing something else,
That is not a problem. See, at the end of
problem
the
in
day,
it, or is it okay?
no. At the end of the day, it is still manufacturing, right? For us, the printed circuit boards,
Yeah.
how it works in the production line is we do the design of PCBA once, okay, with our electronics knowledge. But at the end, the physical samples is the physical product. Okay, it's a PCBA, there's a physical speaker ID, there is a mesh that comes into play, there is a what you call the magnetic what called audio drivers that comes into play for smart speakers. So all these things and all are mechanical. Okay, so these are all still produced in China. Okay, so we do procurement. We need to build a very strong supply chain ecosystem even in India, who will provide not just PCBAs but also these magnetic drivers, these capacitors. Then they also should provide us some what you call wires, like say manufacturing membranes, wooden membranes, okay, for speakers. So these things and all on supply chain. How good we can build a small supply chain ecosystem, the better we can move the manufacturing towards India.
Okay. Like something other than manufacturing. If my field is totally different.
Yeah.
Like, is it okay? Like, we have studied something and we are working on something.
Oh yeah.
Like,
There is no there is no barrier for startups, because that is where we learn a lot of things in multiple areas. Like say, I'm a mechanical engineer, but I have studied electronics, embedded software. I have studied data science in the cloud and what you call mobile application side. Okay, so it teaches you a lot of things during a startup journey. That is why I ventured into startup that way. It's not just manufacturing knowledge. So even in manufacturing, what I use my existing learn is what I called basically we do a lot of quality processes. Okay, especially how the assembly line should be run. Okay, that whole for an electronics company is also different from manufacturing mechanical knowledge.
Okay. Thank you, Ashok. I'll get back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. So I have to drop off because I have a call at next 6 minutes. So I will jump on. Okay. Thank you very much. Good day.
Thank you for sharing your valuable guidance, sir.
Good afternoon to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for the virtual webinar on awareness about startups and related ecosystems. I would like to thank our beloved principal, Dr. Syed Arif, Professor Rukmini Divakaran, Dean Academics, and Dr. H.G. Shenoy, Vice Principal and President of Dr. TTIT Institution Innovation Council for providing this opportunity. I would like to thank our resource person for today's session, Mr. Ashok V. Patil, Managing Partner and CEO, OYD Solution LLP Bangalore, for sharing his valuable knowledge about Indian economy, 3 Ds, that is determination, discipline, and dedication required for startups, money management, and areas of startups. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank Coordinator Professor M. Manila, Department of Civil Engineering, for organizing this webinar as a part of Institution Innovation Council. Last but not least, I would like to thank all faculty members and students for joining this virtual webinar and making it successful. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.
Thank you, ma'am. I thank all the students, faculties from Dr. TTIT and different institutions for making this program a great success. I request all of you to kindly fill the feedback form. The feedback forms are available in the chat box, and the certificates will be generated as soon as the feedback forms are filled. Thank you.
Anita ma'am? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam, can you send me the feedback link, ma'am? Because I had problem with the connectivity. I didn't get the link. Feedback
Okay,
link.
I'll send you, ma'am. I'll send you.
Please send, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.